Let's not forget how good LSU is. Voice of college football, breaking down the game we all love. Best discussion, debate, and analysis based on your engagement, your participation. Be a fan, but don't be a dumb one. LSU defeats Mississippi State 41-14. It was a blowout, just a 9-point favorite coming into Starkville, so I'm mighty impressed with this victory. This Mississippi State team is not great by any stretch. They were taken to the wire by Arizona in overtime at home, but still, Mississippi State with Will Rogers, one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the history of the SEC, in the history of college football. He will rank in the top 10 all-time. Attempts, completions, yardage, touchdowns, the whole deal. He was rendered useless in this game. 107 yards passing, and most of that, 0. Didn't matter. Garbage time. Done. He was 3 for his first 11, 19 yards, and he was constantly harassed. He did not have a bad game. He didn't have a chance in this game. The LSU defensive line dominated. And this is a Mississippi State team, again, with Will Rogers back at quarterback. Yes, they lost their leader. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. Of course, that's a major, major loss. Will Rogers coming back at quarterback. Most of their defensive production, one of the highest rates in college football. And this Mississippi State team led that LSU team that won the SEC Western Division in the fourth quarter in Death Valley. And yes, with the cowbells ringing, one of the more difficult places to play in college football, consider the setting. So I'm impressed with the LSU win as easily as they did. They ran away with this thing. They were up 24-0. It was never a game. Harold Perkins, when they rush him as a pass rusher off the edge, he's one of the best in the business. But they think they need him in space, out in coverage, and he's getting better. He made tackles in space all over the place in this game. Harold Perkins, freak. I considered him to be the best defensive player in college football in 2022. And we'll see where he stacks up after 12 games this year. Mekhi Wingo, another freak, talent, great player. He was disruptive as well. 4 sacks in this game does not tell in any way the story of the LSU pass rush against Will Rogers. Mississippi State totaled 201 yards of total offense. They had 7 yards in the first 16 plays of the game, and by then it was over. It was 24-0. And Mississippi State had only run 16 plays for 7 yards. So everything after that didn't really matter. Flip side, offense. Jaden Daniels, 30 for 34. Hit on his first 13 passes of the game. First touchdown pass to Malik Neighbors. He saw where the defender was, and he threw a perfect over-the-shoulder ball to the left sideline, to the corner of the end zone, but he threw it over the back shoulder because the defender was here. 26-yard touchdown. Next touchdown pass, Malik Neighbors again. This time had the angle and the stride, threw a rainbow over the traditional shoulder for a beautiful drop it in the bucket touchdown. Jaden Daniels was on fire today. Again, 30 of 34. That's difficult to do against air. Mississippi State can play defense, or at least we thought they could play defense before possibly last week and certainly this week. Malik Neighbors had 188 receiving yards at halftime. He finished 13 catches for 239. That was the third best mark in this century, or all time, I believe, for LSU in a first half of play. Okay, LSU could use some more running back contribution production. Jaden Daniels, once again, led this team in rushing, 15 carries, 64 yards. Don't know that that's the best thing, especially in a 27-point win that he carries the ball 15 times. And I know that he took off with it a number of times. However, more in the 6 to 8 carry range would be good for JD. Logan Diggs, 41 yards. Josh Williams, 17. Again, running back production would be key for LSU. That is a weakness. They play Arkansas in Death Valley coming up next week. Then they've got a date at Ole Miss. The Rebels coming off a win against Tulane, 37-20. Don't be deceived by the final score. That one went down to the last couple minutes of the game, and Tulane was without its starting quarterback, Michael Pratt. So Ole Miss can be had, certainly. And look at the SEC Western Division. The SEC West can be had. It's in its worst shape since pre-Nick Saban at Alabama and pre-Nick Saban at LSU since the late 1990s when it was a fairly marginal division. Yes, there's still a ton of talent and ability in this division for them to go out and for somebody to emerge. But consider this. Jalen Milroe showed that he wasn't necessarily the guy for Bama last week against Texas. Now Bama is switching starting quarterbacks, going to Tyler Buckner, who threw 3 touchdowns and 5 picks last year and is never shown to be that level of quarterback. Should he be a starting quarterback in the Power 5? Yes. At Georgia Tech or at Stanford or wherever, fill in the blank, not Alabama. So Bama is in question. They didn't look good against Texas. They were outplayed. Certainly. We saw Texas A&M. Talent all over the roster, we know that, but they are a dysfunctional outfit. They got whipped at Miami. They fell apart. Auburn's not ready, I don't think. I think that they're going to have a really good run under Hugh Freeze. I picked them to go 8-4 overall. But look at the game against Cal. If Cal can make some field goals, Auburn would have lost against a bad Pac-12 team. Arkansas doesn't have a defense. They got a great running back, Rocket Sanders, great quarterback, KJ Jefferson, do not have a defense. And we saw what LSU did to Mississippi State. All right, LSU can win the SEC Western Division again and get back to the championship game. Yes, they looked awful in that second half collapse against Florida State, giving them 31 straight points. But it's a long college football season. Don't give up on Brian Kelly and LSU. Our instant analysis right here at the Voice of College Football. Leave your comments down below. LSU, Mississippi State, what do you think?